Mike in Floral Park. What's up, Mike?
Mike, my head is spinning, but did you just say DeGrom on the DL for the rest of the year?
No, Legares.
Oh, Legares. Okay, holy
No,
smokes.
Legares needs surgery. He's out for the season.
Oh, okay. All right.
Legares bashed into the wall the other day in the 8th or 9th inning, whatever it was, in that rainy 12-1 game, and he jammed his foot against the fence, against the wall, and he severed the sheath underneath his toe, and he needs surgery.
God. All right, Mike, is Stafford the greatest horse conditioner of all time in your mind?
Very difficult to compare him to the conditioners of a different a foregone time like Woody Stevens or any of the great ones, Sonny Jim, Fitzsimmons. I just go down the line. I don't know that you can compare eras, but in the modern game, he has eclipsed. As far as big game hunting, he has eclipsed all of them, no question. Yes, I
totally agree. And my last comment about the Mets, Mike, their timing is just impeccable because unless they go inside, Alderson's going to go. And now they've got a manager who the next GM has to be married to. I just don't know why they didn't get rid of Sandy and do us all a favor, and himself and the Mets, when they brought in a new manager, because here we go again. We're going to have a new GM, and Minaya does not deserve to be the new GM.
Minaya, Omar is not going to be the general manager. Omar is there to do what he does best, and that is scout players, which he's brilliant at. His resume is as long as can be, and he's brought in some of the great players ever. So, I mean, you can go down the line from Sammy Sosa to Juan Gonzalez to I can give you a million more. So he's done a million of them. So Omar's a great eye for talent. He will not be the GM. They'll have a GM in place. You can figure out who. I think everyone knows who the GM's going to be. That doesn't matter. I don't know when Sandy's going to hang it up. I don't know if it'll be after this year or not. We'll have to wait and see about that. But this year has taken just a incredibly bad turn. I mean, insanely bad turn. John in Paramus, what's up, John?
My prayers were answered when you came back. But let me ask you something.
Well, thank you. What's up?
Why isn't Gleyber Torres playing tonight?
I understand, but listen, you have to keep. I agree with this. You have to give your bench players a chance to play once in a while. It keeps them sharp for when you need them, for when you need them late in games, for when you need them. You will have to look at it both ways. You have got to, at times, give a guy a day off to give your bench players a chance to get in the lineup. So you want to do that, and they're not going to play often. He's not going to play second often. He's not going to play short often. That's not going to happen. Torres will have to, pick his spots here and there, but that is done, John, just to also give the other guy, you're right, or 4 days off. Torres doesn't need a day off. Torres doesn't need a day off any day. He's a young kid. But you also got to give your bench guys a chance to play. You cannot allow them to wait a long time between at bats. You can't let them, go a month without playing. So you got to give them. It works both ways. So let them get a night in. Let Torres have a day off. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I understand your point. I don't need a day off when they just had 4 days off. You're right. This is not a tired day off. This is just a day off to give the bench a chance to play. Stevie in Whitestone. What's up, Stevie?
What's up, Mike?
What's happening?
Nothing much. Big Mets fan here, and this Legares injury I'm not so happy about because I finally seen him coming of age this year. He was, hitting the ball to the right field. He was obviously making great plays in the outfield like he always does. But this our strong point was the outfield, and now
if I was Legares, I'd really be wondering if somebody was ever going to give me a chance to be an everyday player, because here now he was finally breaking through to where, he was finally doing the things that you wanted to see he was starting to hit. He was starting to look like, hey, we're going to have to give Legares some time here. He was starting to swing the bat. And now, look at this. I mean, he was going to get a chance maybe to play it. Who knows? Maybe it would have blossomed into an everyday player. Who knows? But now he's terrible, devastating injury to them. Absolutely. Not because they can't live without Legares, just devastating to him and to the whole idea of this team just having one thing pile on another thing, pile on another thing. It's just always something with them. Mike and Comac, what's up, Mike?
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you.
And I just one comment and one question, and I'll hang up and let you answer. First of all, thank you for your time at the Henry Viscardi School. I heard you were great.
My pleasure to be there. I'll tell you something else. Everyone should go to the Henry Viscardi School where I was yesterday. I thank them for including me, and I thank them for the honor. But let me say this. When you go there, and Ro and I took the kids there last night, and everyone should take their kids to this, because as I said to my kids last night at the table, I said, look around. And when you think you got it rough, when you think like, something, is bothering you, or you're not getting a break, or somebody's not being fair, look at what these kids overcome. Look what they do. And when you watch these kids who are overcoming such incredible hardships, incredible difficulties, and overcoming them with a smile and singing, a song, or performing on stage, or on there in wheelchairs with me, doing a bit with me on the stage last night. I mean, it's inspiring to see these kids and to see what these people, not just them, adults too, people who were born with every kind of, setback and overcoming it. It's remarkable. And I'll tell you, I saw a kid last night, and I don't know if some people who have followed me for a long time will remember this. There was a little guy who I used to include in our bits back in the early days of Mike and the Mad Dog. His name was Clinton Brown, and his family used to follow us around with his mother, and he was at that school, and he was a guy a kid that we kind of adopted, and we had him at a lot of events, and I used to carry him up on the stage with me, and he was a kid with a great personality. I used to include him with a bit. I had him come up and roast Imus with me one night. He was kind of, I gave him all the punchlines. It was unbelievable. Yesterday, I'm doing some photos at the beginning of the night. Who comes up to me? A grown-up Clinton Brown, who I haven't seen in 25 years. He went to that school. He is is on the board at the school. He works full-time. He's got an executive position with a cable company. He's married. I mean, you know what? I said, you know what? That made me feel good to watch this kid that I used to early in the years carried around at the events, and to see him now as a grown-up and what he's accomplished is just remarkable. Absolutely remarkable to see that. It really was amazing. He came up to me yesterday, and I was wondering if I was going to see you here, and there he was, and I hadn't probably seen him in 25 years.
Yeah, well, it is a special place.
It is a special school. And you'll be inspired by going there. Mike Pascucci, who does more charity work, probably a very, very successful businessman, the man who built Sabonic out on Long Island, that great golf course, one of the most beautiful golf courses in the world. He had asked me to go be part of this night there because he's been there for 50 years doing it every year, giving his time. And he sat with us last night at our table. And Mike said to me, if you can't get inspired at this place, watching these people and what they overcome, then nothing's going to ever get to you. And it's true. Everyone should go there once and just see how amazingly cheerful and how they say they're unstoppable and nothing can stop them, and it's awe-inspiring. It really lifts you up to see these guys overcome the stuff they overcome. It really does.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, and they do too. And I wanted to ask you a question about the Yankees.
Go ahead.
A lot of chatter about if the Yankees can get a starting pitcher.
Right.
My question to you is, who would you take out of the starting rotation, and what would you do with that pitcher?
Well, right now, I mean, when you're talking postseason, that's an easy thing. You put a guy in the bullpen, you take him off the roster. That's when we're talking about the Yankees needing a pitcher. Right now, we're not talking about them needing a pitcher to get to the playoffs. We're talking about them needing a pitcher to win a championship. And we're talking about more, maybe towards the pennant drive, and you might have to drop somebody from the rotation. And that could be a Montgomery. That could be Montgomery not coming back from injury. That could be that Germán doesn't do the job as a starting pitcher either. That could be somebody else is ineffective, or maybe an injury. Maybe CC got hurt, or Tanaka got hurt, or one of them had to go to the DL with a bad arm. Who knows? You don't know about these things with pitchers. You can't count on any pitcher to be durable for a season. That's something you just can't count on no matter who the pitcher is. You know you're going to have a need for pitching along the way. I don't care how many starters you have. You know you're going to need pitching. Earlier this year, people talked about how the Mets, what were they going to do with, with Lugo? What were they going to do with Selman? What were they going to do with these guys? They didn't have enough pitchers. Well, now they're looking for pitchers. So it just shows you never have enough pitching. Same thing for the Yankees. But the Yankee pitcher, you want him to elevate the team. You want him to be able to compete with what he's going to see from Verlander, from Morton, who's become like an ace. I mean, when you look at Morton's numbers now, you got to include Keuchel hasn't been Keuchel this year, but when you look and realize the Morton we saw last year, who pitched the brilliant games in the postseason and who beat the Yankees in Game 7, that Morton has been just crazy good this year. I mean, he's got a 2.0 ERA. Guy's thrown 48 innings. He's 5-0. He's got a 62 strikeouts, and he's got a whip under 1. Charlie Morton has found himself. I mean, he's become an incredible pitcher right now. You got Cole and what he's doing. You got Morton and what he's doing. Obviously, you got Verlander, who right now, along with Scherzer, is the best pitcher in baseball. I mean, those two are the best pitchers in baseball right now. Hands down. Look at their numbers. They're outstanding. They're overwhelming, as a matter of fact. Mark in Jersey. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Mike.
What's happening?
What do you think of Teixeira's comments? I mean,
I thought it's wrong.
Bush. I mean, it seemed like it was breaking.
I just think it's wrong. I just think it's wrong. I think you're retired. You don't need to take that shot. You really don't need to take that shot. I was surprised. I really was. Teixeira's always had a reputation for being a good guy. I was surprised. And, I would be okay with you if you did it and you were active and he was active and you had a problem with it and you wanted to out a guy, then so be it. You know what? You're competing against the guy. If you really feel strongly about it, you know what? I'd say that took some guts. This didn't take any guts. I was surprised at Mark. I really was. I thought he was wrong.
Years ago, when Cano and Melky were so close and then Melky got busted, I mean, I think for most Yankee fans who follow the team closely, it was something that was always on your radar.
Well, the biggest story, I can say now that the biggest problem they had with those two was that they stayed out all the time. All right? They went out a lot. They went out late a lot. And that was what you heard, was that they were real livers, that Melky and Cano, and that Melky was bad influence on Cano. That was what you heard, too, okay? So they blame Melky, which wasn't fair because Cano was able to take care of himself, but that they both stayed out a lot. That's what you heard. I mean, whether the guy was doing steroids, I'm not saying I heard he was or he wasn't. I never heard that one way or the other about Cano. I'll tell you right now.
Well, I was going to ask you.
I never heard that. And a lot of times you hear stuff. Listen, they might have. They all act like they did. But here's the thing: the Yankees have had enough. They've showed enough guys who did it, as we know. From A-Rod to Giambi to Sheffield to Pettit to Clemens. We can go down the line. They've had enough players. So we know that, but to me, to say that doesn't serve any purpose. It really doesn't. And the rumors about Cano were that he showed up for every game, played every game, but that he liked to go out at night and he liked to stay out late, and that scared the Yankees that he liked to stay out late. And that was what you heard about him and Melky all the time. That I remember hearing all the time. I didn't hear anything about steroids. That doesn't mean it was happening, not happening. I'm not saying it was or it wasn't. I don't know. I never heard that about the steroids. I did hear him about his nightlife. I did hear a lot about that through the years. You did hear that about Cano.
Do you think this ends any Hall of Fame?
I think it makes it. I think it hurts it dramatically. I think he gets on the list now with guys who, like everyone else, from A-Rod to Clemens to McGuire down the list. So all of them, none of them are going to get it. They're either all going to get in or none of them are going to get in. Some of them aren't going to get in. No one's going to say, well, Bonds and A-Rod's careers were so special they get in even though they did it. That's not going to happen, and that wouldn't be fair if they did. Either the guys get in or they don't get in. Gary in Woodbury. What's up, Gary?
Hi, Mike. A great story about the special needs kids, Mike. I could go on and on about that.
Yep.
But
it's really heart-rendering
to hear what you had to say.
It just really, to see the human condition where people overcome the kind of things they overcome is remarkable. It really is, and with a smile on their face too.
And the teachers who work with them as well.
Absolutely,
it's very inspiring.
Absolutely.
Quick question, Mike, and thanks for coming back. I thought that the Eli Giants game-used equipment story was a bigger deal than the press did because I didn't see a whole lot, and I was wondering what you thought about whether the NFL is considering or has already initiated an investigation into Eli and the Giants regarding that issue.
Well, first of all, I think the game use thing is a lot bigger than the Giants and Eli. It's done everywhere. I think it is wrong. I've said this a million times. If the leagues, whether it's the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, they're all doing it. I think the teams, the leagues, all of them got to get out of this game use business, because to me, it leads itself to all kinds of stuff. When you hear about a guy who's going to break a record that night and changes his jersey every inning, okay, and wears 9 jerseys because he's going to break a record that night or something like that, that's the wrong idea of this stuff, okay? It leads itself to the idea of what's authentic and what's not. If I'm going to produce 9, what if I produce 15? Who's going to know the difference? I just think the whole idea of this game use thing, if you want something that somebody signs, so be it. Okay, and the only way you're going to know he really signed it is if you see him sign it. Okay,
well that's what
because
that's
you
what
saw them on TV.
Well,
you saw him on TV. They put a verifier on there, and the guy went 0 for 8. The verifier, who was paid to verify it, went 0 for 8 on autographs. So to me, this is the thing. If you want to know if it's real, then see him sign it. If you want to know if it's real.
Do you believe that whatever might have happened there would justify action by the NFL, or are they just going to let it go?
Oh, I think. Listen, they all settled where there's no wrongdoing. So once you do that, I think the NFL's got enough problems to worry about without creating them. So,
well, it sounded to me, Mike, like the Giants did a mea culpa.
Again, I'm
they were
sure
very quick to say, "No, we didn't do anything wrong." But here's the money.
Here's what they did: they settled and got a signed thing that there was no wrongdoing. So it happens all the time in our system, and that's what went on. But my thing is this: forget the Giants and Eli here. This is a bigger problem for all these leagues. This game use stuff leads itself to a lot of stuff that's done in the locker room, a lot of shady stuff that you can't verify. Everyone can say you can verify it. You can't. How are you going to verify it? Who's going to say, you got a guy who comes on in a catalog and says Babe Ruth used this bat or Babe Ruth wore this jersey? Who can tell me that Babe Ruth wore something? I mean, come on.
Those guys that are paid big bucks to authenticate stuff,
please.
I wouldn't put my money on that.
That's what I mean. Who's going to tell you that? I mean, you're going to buy something because somebody wore it? No. You want to buy it because it's that person's jersey, all right, or he wore that number, fine. That the idea you get into this game-worn stuff is very, very shaky ground. It really is, because it just leads itself to stuff that somebody has to authenticate. All right? And what's the difference between having 3 game-worn jerseys and 6 game-worn jerseys? Really, there should be one. Here should be the rule. There's only 1 game-worn jersey used for that game. That's it. Not 4. Not 2. Not 7. Not the whole thing. So to me, I just think, the idea of just charging a lot of money for that kind of stuff makes it, and the fact that it's done behind the scenes makes it a tricky business. And then you've had, listen, there's been scandals, right? There's been all kinds of scandals with this stuff. There's been scandals with equipment men. There's been problem with equipment men. We all know this stuff. I just think they lead themselves for a quick buck into a place they don't need to go. They all make enough money. They don't need to go there. And I'm not saying stop memorabilia. If you want to go to a place, have the guy sign something in front of you, and he charges you whatever he thinks you want to pay for it, I don't care what it is. What you want to pay for, it's your business. What he wants to charge is his business. And he signed it, and you saw him sign it, so be it. There's no question about anything then. That's good. Otherwise, it leads itself to a lot of speculation at the idea that there's stuff. Then you hear all the different rumors. Oh, I signed stuff for this guy. I signed stuff for this guy. This guy should say, here, sign a bunch of these, sign a bunch of these, that kind of stuff. You don't want to hear that stuff. So it can be very easy. Just only charge people for stuff that is signed in front of people. That's all. You have to be there. Otherwise, that's it. Or, you can verify that it's the game used jersey, and not numerous ones. And that's very hard to do. Even in that vein, it's very hard to do. I mean, if you sort of took it off and give it to you, well, that's the way you know it's game used. Other than that, it's hard to verify it was used. Peter and Merrick, what's up, Peter?
Yes, how you doing, Mike? Welcome back.
Thank you.
Just wanted to talk about sports betting. How do you think it's gonna affect the NFL and everything going on?
In what way? Be more specific.
Like, how do you think it's going to affect, the lines, the games? How do you think it's going to affect the
We've had legalized sports betting in this country for many, many years. Why is it going to be different?
Because people are going to be able to bet generally.
Yeah, but people have always been able to bet.
But now it's going to bring so much money into to the NFL to begin with. So it's just going to be great. People are going to be able to go to casinos or do whatever they want to do. So
right.
How do you think it's going to?
But my point is, why does the game have to change?
Well, I don't think it's going to change, but I just want to know your take about everything.
Yeah, but my point is, what I'm saying to you is, we have had legalized gambling in Las Vegas for years. We have had legalized gambling on these games. Why now is that going to change when more states are now gambling? That's the only issue. More states will be gambling now. Why is it going to change the sport?
Well, I'm not saying change the sport. I'm just saying that do you think it's going to? Do you think any of the players, any of the scandals?
Oh, I don't worry about. I don't worry. Now you got specific for me. Now I understand where you want to go. Do I think players will be guilty of trying to fix games? No, I do not. Do I think it adds scrutiny on officials? Yes, I do. See, players, they make too much money. They're out of touch. They're out of reach. You can't gamble you can't put down a bet without drawing enormous attention that you would need to cover to pay players off or to make it profitable. If I have to pay a player is going to want a lot of money. He's going to want millions to throw a game. You can't bet millions on a game without drawing enormous attention to it. So that can't happen. So the idea that players tossing games is not going to happen. Would you worry about an official? Absolutely. Would you worry about a college game with shaving points? Yes, you've always had to worry about that. Where players aren't getting paid, you do have to worry about it. Nick in Oceanside, what's up, Nick?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
What's
Good to
happening?
have you back.
Thank you.
And with the sports betting, a couple questions, and the Yankees too, if you have a chance.
Go ahead.
With the sports betting, do you feel it will weaken the underworld or make it stronger?
I think it will make it stronger.
I agree with that also. Now, if you're a heavy bettor and you bet with the state now, let's say you bet $10,000, you have to claim those winnings?
You shouldn't have to. If you have to, it will not change one thing. The betting will all go underground.
Right. Somebody brought that to my attention.
If you're going to make people pay for if you win a bet that pays you more than $2.99 to 1, then yes, but that's not a straight bet. If you bet $10,000 to win $10,000, or put up $10,000, or if you put up the VIG, put up $11,000 to win $10,000. If you do that and you win the bet, you shouldn't pay $1 in income tax. If you have to, then you're just going to drive everything right back underground.
Right. Another question: You as a parent of two young boys, how do you feel about this gambling? Do you have any concerns on this new generation?
I try to tell my kids the same thing about everything, and that is that there are a lot of things in life that can hurt you if you don't have balance in your life. And that's the thing you have to achieve. And that's how it's up to you with some self-discipline and understand that balance is the key. Because you can abuse anything. You can abuse alcohol, you can abuse food, you can abuse betting, you can abuse anything in life. You can abuse exercise, you can abuse anything. You can do anything to excess. And that's what you have to watch. From that standpoint, do I think it could scare some people? Yeah, I do. I think some people who have trouble with certain self-controls could have problems with it. Absolutely. You'd have to be naive to think it wouldn't create extra problems for some people. But I think that there's no way around that in where the world is going. I think it's going to happen. I think there's some things you can't stop. This is going to be one of them. Back after this.